G'day guys, Ross here up on the roof. Now today, a little bit of maintenance. We're going to show you how to diagnose and possibly repair a fan on an evaporative air conditioning unit. Now these are a pretty straightforward unit. Water comes into the bottom, gets pumped to the top, it goes all around all four sides and it falls into the pad which is sitting behind this panel. The pad saturates and then a big fan draws air through that, cooling it down through evaporation and pushing that cool air down into your house. And you've got to have your windows open to let that air out. At full bore, this is going to replace all the air in my house every 2 minutes. Now, I had a tech out a week ago when this stopped working and he quoted me $4,800 for the motor that he reckons wasn't working, which is interesting. And then he said, oh, why don't you just get a whole new unit, mate? $8,500, we've got them in stock. I can put one in this afternoon. We've got a payment plan. Of course you have. Of course you've got a payment plan. Now, they put a lot of pressure on people. A lot of techs are really good. Unfortunately, not mine. I got the worst guy. I've done a bit of research, quite a lot of research. And what I'm going to do today is take you through the things that can go wrong. Now, I will do a separate video on how these units work. Every part of them, the box, the post, the ducting, and then the vents and how it works, the pros and cons. But for the moment, I'm really just concerned about the fan. In the end, I spent $40, I installed a new capacitor, problem solved. A little bit different from $8,500. Now, we're working on a roof, potentially working out in the heat. Wear a hat, put sunscreen on, stay hydrated, have a friend or a spotter with you to assist, and you're playing with both electricity and water. They're not good bedfellows, so always be safe, always isolate the system, and if there's something that you're really not confident in doing, don't do it. Call someone. But at the very least, you'll be a bit more educated when you're talking to them. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so now we can see on the inside of the unit, and I've taken two of the sides off just to give us a bit more light in here. First thing we're looking for is physical damage. Now that can come in a number of forms. The first one, we want to look around the unit and make sure there's been no storm damage. So damage to the casing, damage to the plastic, panels on the outside, damage to the pads. That's not likely to stop the fan going. However, something could have come across in here. If this is major storm damage, you know, there could be a stick stuck in there, something like that. So that's not the case. Let's look at the second bit. This unit is attached via a frame. Now, if that frame is corroded, and this one is corroded because, you know, they suck a lot of moist air through, potentially in a really old unit, could actually have rusted out and possibly this thing's dropped a little bit, or the motor's dropped within the frame. So this could be sitting down at a weird angle and jammed up, or it could have sticks in it, something like that. Well, that's not the case. Next thing, the fan, as you can see, is spinning freely. Now there's a shaft that this fan's attached to under there, and the shaft goes up into the motor, and at either end of that, there's a bearing. Those bearings can wear, and in fact they can seize, and if you spin it, now I can hear just a very small amount of noise from those bearings, which means they're probably at 80%, but they're working fine. If they were quite damaged, you'd really hear a grinding noise, all right? And the fan will be trying to go, but the bearings will be grinding, and that would be a lot of resistance. That is not the problem. By the way, I've priced the bearings. I think they're $7 each. So if I have to do that at some point, and I'll do a video on that. So we know that that's all working fine. So physically, there's no damage. Now that really says what it can be now is some form of electrical problem. Okay, so let's look at the various electrical problems before I slide off this roof. Okay, number one, I've got a handheld controller. There might be a problem with that, maybe. Second problem, could be a problem with the motor itself. So we could be, as this guy suggested, have a burnt out motor. Third problem we've got is in this box, because that is really the only other place. Now in this box there's two things. There's a PCB, or a printed circuit board, which is the brains of this unit, and there's a capacitor. And the way we're going to test that it's getting electricity, and the last thing of course is the unit getting electricity at all. So let's just turn it on. There we go. Right, so what that is a solenoid opening. As you can see here, I've got water starting to come down into the system here. Now it's fairly slow. I've actually got to look at that. I think I need to adjust it. But it'll come down and the water will get up to about here. And once it gets to there, or before then, the pump on the other side will try and prime. Okay, so a couple of minutes have gone past and we can hear a couple of things. First of all, we've still got water flooding into the system, and very soon I expect the water pump will try and start priming. You can also hear a buzzing noise. I want to show you something. You know what that is? That is a fan working just fine. We'll just turn it down, wait about 5 seconds. Turns it down, let's turn it back up. There it goes, working nicely. Yep, beautiful. And we'll turn it off. Right, everything goes off, and in a second that water will start to drain out. Okay, what does that tell us? Well, it tells us a couple of things. One, the motor's working perfectly fine. Okay, so this idiot that turns up and tells me I need a new motor needs to go back to air conditioning school. Secondly, it tells me pretty good chance the PCB is working just fine, because the water pump's getting power, the relief valve, which just opened, is getting power, the solenoid's getting power, the motor's getting power, everything's getting power. The air conditioning sender up here is getting power, everything. So the PCB's fine. What it tells me is, with certainty, I know what the problem is. And it's something in here. And we're going to take a look at this in a second. We'll open this up and I'll show you exactly what the problem is. Okay, so we're back up on the roof, and I've isolated the system by going down to the switchboard and flipping the switch off. We also have a switch on the unit itself that will also go off, just as an added precaution. I'm going to open this box up, and there we go, pop it down. And what we have, pretty straightforward. It looks complicated. On the right hand side there's a PCB, your printed circuit board. That is the brains of the machine, and you can see that, for example, there's a white wire from the motor which corresponds to this white wire and these connectors. There's a grey wire to the water pump which corresponds to this grey wire and those connectors, so it's actually reasonably easy to work out what's what. What we're interested in, however, is this big silver thing. Let's take a look. Now you notice I'm handling it, no problem whatsoever, but I'm staying away from the terminals. I'm being very careful around the terminals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle that terminal off like that, and the same with that one, being very careful not to touch anything. And then I'm going to take my screwdriver and I'm going to hold, it's insulated, and I'm going to short across the two terminals. Now this is your capacitor. When the unit's turned on, this will charge up, and then when the fan starts to go, or tries to go, what this thing will do, the capacitor, it will release extra energy down there to give that fan a bit extra oomph. You know, like you and I having a coffee in the morning. Now this is playing up. It's not dead, because sometimes the fan works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's not healthy. So I know that's pretty much the problem. Now with the shorting, it's 450 volts. If you didn't short that and you instead touched it with your fingers, that's something that could potentially damage you. It could potentially kill you. Okay, so 450 volts. It's also got AC written on it, so that's not for air conditioning, that's alternating current. Air conditioners have these AC units in them, always check that. If it said DC, then it's actually important which way around the terminals go. But in this case it doesn't, and the other way to tell is there's no markers whatsoever. So on an AC, it doesn't matter, because the capacitance is between the two terminals. It doesn't matter which one's which. With a DC, that does matter. So the other important thing is, do not short these out with one of the terminals still connected, because that's potentially going to send power through your PCB. Now, I'm telling you that from experience, because I've done it. Thankfully, this thing was pretty much discharged, but I still had to turn this off and wait an hour before it started working. Right, we're going to go downstairs. I'll show you how to test that. In the meantime, I've actually already done the testing, so there's no point doing two videos when I can just show you how to reinstall this. And it's going to be pretty straightforward. Terminal goes on, other terminal goes on. I'm going to put it back in there, and the really important thing here is to make sure that none of your wires are going to crimp anywhere when you close this box. There we go, so that's in there. Everything's good on that side. I should just be able to click that back up. There we are, and close the unit off. And that's all you need to do to replace a capacitor. Capacitor I just bought at the local air conditioning warehouse place for $40. Now I'm going to go downstairs, I'll turn the power back on at the switch, and then I'll turn this switch back on. We'll test it and we'll see if that fixes the issue. Okay, so we're down in the shed and we have the old capacitor, and I've also got the new capacitor, which I picked up for $40. Now, full disclosure, I did buy a special tool for this job, but it's one that I've wanted for a while. I don't know how to use them, so that's a bit of a motivator to me to actually learn. This is a digital multimeter. This cost me $35. And it's a auto-ranging tool, so quite often electricity and things you're going to measure, there's a range and you've got to choose the range. Well, this one will do it for me. What I'm looking for, I've got all these different symbols. What I'm looking for is that symbol right there. That is the symbol for farads or capacitance. Farads is how much capacitance or ability to hold a charge that a capacitor has. So I'm going to turn it around to there. And this is auto-ranging. So it'll start off with NF, which is nanofarads. And then depending on what we're measuring, that'll climb up into microfarads, etc. On the left here, we can see that this says 25 UF plus or minus 5%. That means 25 microfarads, or 25 millionths of a farad, is how much this unit can store. 25 millionths. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to have our two probes. It doesn't matter which one they go on, we've got two terminals. So let's go like this. And we can see on the right-hand side, and the lighting's not fantastic, but we can see it's climbing up. And it's climbing up quite slowly. There we go, 2.04 nanofarads. So the NF has not moved. So that's 2.04 or 2.03 billionths of a farad. That is not much, and that pretty much tells us that capacitor is kaput. Let's wait till that does its thing. Right, let's do exactly the same thing with our new capacitor. All right, now see it changed there. You might know what you've noticed this, but the NF became UF, so it went from nanofarads to microfarads, and it's gone to 24.8. Now, these are 25 plus or minus 5%, so this is perfect. That's exactly what I'd expect from my brand new $40 capacitor, which we're now going to go up and install. The only thing I'm going to do before I do that is I'm just going to write on here December 24, so I know that when it was installed. And if there's a problem in the future, then the tech or the next homeowner or myself or whatever will know that. All right, let's go back up. We're going to install this unit and then we're going to test. All right, and we're back on the roof. Now, I'll just summarize what we've done. We've come up here, we've looked for the fact we've got electricity coming to the unit. That's a check. There's no physical damage. That's good. We've spun the fan to make sure the bearings aren't seized. It was fine. We've turned the unit on, spun the fan, and found that it spun up and down once it overcome that inertia. That's also fine. So that means it was either the capacitor or there's something weird happening either with the unit itself, the sender unit, or something in the PCB. We've taken the capacitor out, we've tested it, we've found that it failed, we've put a new one in, and we've powered the system back up. Always with electrical, always safety first, okay? Always good to have a friend here with you as well, just in case there's a problem. Now the proof is in the pudding. This is the on button. Now, if this works properly, when I press it on, after a few seconds, capacitor will charge up, fan will start, solenoid will open, and more water will start coming through, and the water pump at the back will start trying to prime. Let's give it a go. On she goes. And I reckon we're on a winner. And off. Now, without me trying, without me needing to do anything, that fan spun up just beautifully. So, to the plumber who told me it was going to cost me $8,500, or at the very least $4,500 for a new motor, I reckon you need to go back to plumbing school, because you're an idiot. That was a $40 fix. A little bit of mucking around, but really, for 40 bucks, very happy. Now guys, safety first as always. I hope you get a bit out of this channel. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm always prepared to give things a go. Thank you for your time today. Till next time, see you later.